When was the last time you painted with analogous colors? And do you know what analogous colors are? Well, I bet you that you are painting with analogous colors even though maybe you don't know what they are. And so today I'm going to be painting a green lizard with analogous colors and explaining the process. And so right in front of me right now, you can see that I'm putting in the background, giving you an idea of what the analogous colors are. And before we get into me explaining more, I'm going to do something called TTT. I'm a teacher, and TTT means test, teach, test. And you're thinking, no, on YouTube, we don't get tests. Well, on my channel, they're easy, so don't worry, you'll pass. I hope, I think, I know. Okay, so question number 1, there are 4 pictures appearing on the screen. Each set of 3 colors represents analogous or not. Can you label whether they're analogous or not? 1, 2, 3, 4. Next question. Only one of these is not analogous. Can you identify which one it is? Okay, because of lack of time, I'm going to explain right now. So questions 1, 2, 3, or samples 1, 2, 3 are analogous colors. Analogous color means there are 3 colors pretty much side by side on the color wheel, and they are very much in harmony with each other. Usually, like you have number 1 red, you have an orange and a darker red. This is analogous. Number 2, you have kind of a gold in the middle, a bright yellow, and a brown. And it's not as side by side as you would normally put on the color wheel, but still they are analogous. They're quite close together. And then of course you have the 3 blues, a mid-tone, a lighter, and a much darker. Number 4 is not analogous at all. This is what we call for color blending. When you want, to create your blacks and your light colors and your dark colors, you can mix the red and the blue for the black, or the red and the ochre for maybe greens and oranges and things like that. So those 3 colors are definitely not analogous. They're not side by side on the color wheel. So here I am painting with my colors, and in front of us I don't have 3 colors. Analogous colors mean 3 colors, but I am using 4, and actually I did add a couple more later. All analogous, I'll explain. Okay, so analogous means there are 3 colors together. My colors are permanent yellow green, emerald green, phthalo green, which is a beautiful color, and then Prussian blue. And that's the dark one that I wanted for getting the dark shadows. It's a very transparent color, but when you use it neat, you can get colors that simulate black. Okay, so as for my analogous colors, you could say that all 4 of them are on this range, the spectrum of color. I ended up later adding permanent yellow, which was a little bit lighter than the permanent yellow green that I was using. And so there was like this eye massage from a light yellow to a greenish yellow to kind of a mid-tone blue, and that's how I got that background that looks kind of hazy. I didn't want a really dark background, but if I put a yellow in the background, then I am kind of putting not a lot of depth into my jungle or my rainforest. So I wanted to put the light greens and the light yellow closest to me, because as color goes deeper into a jungle or a rainforest or into a darker space, colors like yellow and red disappear. They just become muted. So that's why I'm putting the lighter colors on this side. You'll see me later do that again to kind of put the lizard kind of in the jungle rather than in front of the jungle. I'll talk about that at the end. And another comment about these colors that I'm using, all 5 of them, because I added the permanent yellow, all 5 of them are very transparent. Well, actually I should say 4 of them. The emerald green is somewhat opaque because there's a little bit of white in the mixture, but I can still do quite a nice glaze with it. So you'll see me glazing throughout. I don't paint with rich colors or thick layers. I tend to glaze, and it's just something I like. I just think you can get more depth and more subtle colors. And this is what I said, when you're painting with analogous colors and you're wanting that eye massage, let the colors kind of blend softly together. Glazing does that very well. And right now you can see this is the permanent yellow that I used just to pop some of the areas, like the end of the lizard toes, and just a little bit on the top of the head, a little bit on the back. I put a little bit more like light is splashing on the back of the lizard. But for the most part, I just used the greens for the brighter greens for the lizard, and then the darker greens and the blues for the background, mixing in some of that emerald because that's like the mid-range. So now let's talk about that tree branch and the other limbs. And guys, if you're enjoying this and would like more detailed instruction on colored palettes, color mixing, artist tips, or guided instruction while you paint, maybe you're interested in my Patreon couple paint. And you're probably wondering, what is couple paint? Well, couple paint is much like the paint and sip, except I don't talk about the sip. And two people are simultaneously painting together part of a picture or part of a story, but they're each painting on their own canvases. And right now you're looking at the Timmy and Tammy couple paint, and this one is done in acrylic. So for just a few dollars every month, a couple, and this could be friends, family, neighbors, or those darling little honeys, can enjoy the couple paints in my library and the 2 new uploads that I give every month. And they're usually in acrylic, but sometimes they're in watercolor. And if you're interested in this kind of paint socializing, I will have the Patreon link below and you can go check it out. The tree branches and the limbs are very dark, and I need some color to pop against that lizard. So that's why I added quite a bit of like foliage around. Not quite a bit, but some. The branch is heavier than the leaves, and so I took my darker color, Prussian blue, and painted the branches, the thick branches and the smaller ones. When I was painting the leaves, I used the phthalo green. Now, phthalo green is also very transparent, and it's brighter than the blue, and so it looks kind of on the same tone range as the Prussian blue, but it has it's just brighter. And so it looks like the light is kind of going through the leaves, and the light doesn't go through the blue. And so you get a sense of depth just by choosing your colors and just using colors lightly rather than too thickly. So I'm here glazing a little bit of the phthalo green once in a while on top of the lizard, and I keep going back and forth because my reference photo, which I will link in the picture, I'll link it below. My reference photo had a little bit more contrast in the background with the lizard in the foreground, but I didn't get that contrast when I was putting in my background, and so I was really kind of struggling throughout about how much to pop the color. And eventually I added just a little bit of white on top of the lizard, put that just a glaze on top of the lizard, and then I glazed over it with some more of the permanent yellow and the permanent yellow green. And that's how I got some of my brighter colors, because I just couldn't distinguish the permanent yellow against that emerald green because they're so close. And that's one of the challenges of painting with analogous colors. Sometimes you want to pop a little bit of color, and because there's so much harmony and closeness on this, color wheel, you can't get the contrast that you would normally get. But you work with it and you can get it. You just have to manipulate things. And right there you can see that that's where I put in a little bit of the white, and then I started glazing over it. And that's where I could get a kind of a brighter green yellow that I couldn't achieve without putting that undercoating of white. Okay, so we're coming close to the end, and now it's time to to put the lizard into the jungle. So by putting a lot of the yellow leaves around the lizard, I'm bringing the leaves forward, and that kind of pushes the lizard into the jungle rather than have the lizard sit outside of the jungle. And that, to me, is pretty cool. So now my final question, because I said this is TTT, test, teach, test. My final question is, in front of us there is a picture, and there is one color that is not analogous in this picture. What color is it? Well, I think it's pretty clear. I think you can identify very clearly that there is a pink tongue in this lizard. I just could not get the blue tongue or the phthalo green tongue or the yellow tongue to work, so finally I just put in a pink one, and I'm pretty satisfied. Even though it's not analogous, I think it pops, and I'm quite happy. Guys, if you enjoyed learning about color theory or would like to hear more about this, please make comments below, and if you would like to hear more, I would be really happy to make another video like this. I thought it was quite fun.